Welcome to Stonewatch. This is my open spoiler discussion for Ms. Marvel Season 1. And if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you can notify for future videos. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And yes, after watching Ms. Marvel Season 1 over on Disney Plus, I gotta say, this show was actually pretty damn good. Now, I had no expectations going into this show. I never read one single comic book of Ms. Marvel. I didn't know anything about the character whatsoever. And I didn't really even do a deep dive on the internet beforehand. I wanted to see it on the screen for the first time because the comics are the comics. They use a lot of stuff from the comics, but they don't use everything. Now, overall, I like this series quite a bit. I thought that the family dynamic was really cool. You can actually tell and feel that they loved and cared for one another. And then I felt so bad for Bruno when Kamala and Cameron almost kissed. I mean, because I thought for sure that those two were going to be a couple by the time this thing was all over and done with, but that's not the case, at least not for this first season. But however, this does lead into the movie The Marvels, which is coming out next year. So I'll talk about the post-credit scene in episode 6 here in a minute, which we actually got 2 post-credit scenes in this series. We got one at the end of episode 1 and another one at the end of episode 6, which is, considering all the other series that they had beforehand, they didn't really drop one until like the very end, right? So this was kind of cool because like the first credit scene that we got at the end of episode 1 fed into the story that continued on into episode 2 and pretty much throughout the rest of the series. And then credit scene that we got at the end of episode 6 feeds right into The Marvels, right? Because I've been saying this whole entire time that I was hoping that Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, shows up in this show. Considering that this show was supposed to be tied into that, it made a whole bunch of sense. But I didn't really think that they were going to wait to the very last 30 seconds of the show. Is like she shows up in the credit scene where Kamala does something, all of a sudden she switches places with Captain Marvel. Now we're going to have to wait for that movie for them to actually explain that. I wonder if she's actually going to interact with the family downstairs. How she going to explain that where is their daughter? That's going to be pretty something. I'm hoping those characters that are in the show actually show up at least at the beginning part of the Marvels, right? Now I have to admit, as I was watching this show week to week, I was getting kind of worried. I'm like, are they going to be able to actually wrap this thing up? Because they kept on introducing new characters. We got Bruno and all her friends from school, and then we've got the clandestines show up. Then we had Damage Control, which they actually show up in Spider-Man No Way Home. I wonder how prominent that group of people are going to get, right? Because that's 2 things that they showed up in, and I really want to know, one, where do they come from, who do they work for, and who's paying their bills, right? I mean, and they're using like Stark Tech drones. So I'm kind of wondering about that. And also we got the Red Daggers that we got to meet. We're going to see that group again. I mean, that I can't remember the guy's name that was over there that pretty much took on Cameron, we're going to see him again. And I think except for Cameron, I think there's one clandestine still left. I don't remember what his name is. He's the one who had the whip or whatever, but I think, did he live? I'm not really sure because I know the other ones all got taken out. Let me just think about that in the comments down below. Now, again, like I said, I was kind of worried if they were going to be able to wrap this thing up when it got down to the last episode. They're going to have to rush it, kind of like we did within a couple other Disney Plus shows that we had where like they waited till like the last second and then it just seemed like it was all rushed. Now, they actually were able to wrap it all up and it actually worked out pretty good. I like the whole, holding up in the high school thing, using the softballs and everything. I thought that was hilarious. I mean, and I liked how even though we were dealing with like interdimension type stuff with the clandestines and everything, they still managed to keep this only in like at the very most here in Jersey and a little bit over there in Pakistan. Other than that, they pretty much kept itself really contained. You know what I mean? Now, I thought it was pretty cool how she was the one that was responsible for getting her grandmother back over to her great-grandfather. Now, I kind of wonder, though, does that mean there was more than one bangle? Because in that scene, where did that bangle go? After, like, her great-grandmother gave it to her grandmother and she had the bangle at one point. How do they explain that Kamala got it and was able to, you know what I'm saying? Because did it disappear and then somehow it ended up on Kamala's arm? I'm not really sure. I mean, that kind of confuses me. And I actually went and did a binge watch of the whole entire series last weekend. I kind of like to do that with these Marvel shows and the Star Wars shows. I wait for them all to be released. I watch them week to week. And then I like to go back and watch the whole entire season all at once. Because it's supposed to be like movie quality with an almost movie budget. I mean, if you divide it up, like an average Marvel movie is like 150 to 200 million dollars, right? And it's like about two and a half hours on average, right? For the most part, unless it's Endgame. But other than that, that's usually the average. And if you go by these shows, and they're roughly about 3.5, maybe 4 hours tops. So if you go with that amount of budget and you divide that up by the hour, it's like they actually spend less per hour for the shows than they do compared to the movies. Wow, man, Kevin Feige and crew have finally done it.
Oh, also, I need to tell you something. Okay, so I went back and looked at your genetic makeup again.
Bruno, you know you can call me when you're bored.
No. Amir kept asking if he might have powers too. And I think we might have had it wrong the first time around.
What do you mean?
So, we know why you have access to the Nor and how you can wield it, but when I compared you to the rest of your family, something still seemed off.
Okay.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes. Like a mutation.
That's right. Bruno used the M word, mutant. Mutants are now in the MCU. Now, technically, you can say we already had the mutants in the MCU. Professor X was in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness movie. Technically, that is true. But he was from a different universe, and he got killed off, too. Spoilers. So, not really. I mean, that was just like a cameo for Patrick Stewart to come back, to reprise the role. How iconic. It was an awesome moment, but he was never meant to actually be a mutant in the MCU. So, and now we've got Kamala, our first official mutant in the MCU. Now, I know there's that guy that was in the Black Widow movie who claims that he was the first mutant in the MCU, but that was never officially confirmed by anybody that, as far as I know. And he didn't really fare too well against the Red Guardian there, so...
Like 83, 84, you know?
Captain America was still frozen in ice then.
Are you calling me a liar or something? Huh?
The mutant that he claims to be, I don't know anything about that character, so he could be right, but that's not been officially confirmed. As far as I'm concerned, this is the first mutant that we've got in the MCU. Now, I wonder if they're going to explain... I mean, I know it's all about DNA and everything, but I wonder if they're going to explain what triggered it. Now, I did hear somebody say earlier on today that what if the celestial thing that we had in Eternals, what if by that happening, that pretty much triggered the X gene across the planet? Maybe. I mean, maybe. Because, like, I don't know where exactly Miss Marvel falls in the timeline as far as that goes. I don't know. Maybe that's possible. Maybe. I mean, we already knew that Kevin Feige said that, you know, he had a 5-year plan, and when once that was over and done with, he was going to bring in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. Now, we already know we're going to get the Fantastic Four. I think they're going to either announce the director and the cast either here at Comic-Con that's coming up in this weekend, or it's going to be at the D23. I believe that's in August. I don't remember the date on that one. But either way, we're going to find out when the Fantastic Four is actually going to hit theaters, who's going to be in it, right? And then maybe we'll get some kind of news about the X-Men within the next few weeks here, right? Anything's possible. And like I said, I really liked the family dynamic in this show. I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was really kick-ass. It was the mom who designed her suit, and the dad helped her come up with her name.
Always have been our own little Miss Marvel.
I thought that was cool. It almost kind of got me right here. You know, as a parent, it kind of got me right here. You know what I mean? So in all I could say is I did like this show quite a bit. I had a lot of fun watching it. I'm hoping they do another season, but, you know, it all depends on where the story goes in the Marvels, right? I mean, anything can happen, right? So, and now the next MCU show that we're going to get is going to be She-Hulk. Now, that's supposed to be 9 episodes. Now, I'm not really sure whether or not it's going to be like 9 half-hour episodes, kind of like WandaVision was. It's probably what they're going to do. I'll bet money that's probably what they'll do. So, but it is what it is at this point, right? Did you watch the first season of Miss Marvel? Let me know in the comments down below. How forward are you looking forward to the movie The Marvels? Let me know in the comments down below. And then, do you think they should do a second season for Miss Marvel? Let me know in the comments down below. And are you looking forward to She-Hulk? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, like I said, the show was actually pretty good. I had a lot of fun with it. So let me know what you think in the comments down below.